Hello to everyone. Welcome to another Energy Capital interview. Today we have a very special guest. She is Lisa Hill, Vice President at ArgonDigital. Hello, Lisa. It's so nice to have you with us. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be with you today.
That's great. So if I would like to start the interview, and I was wondering if you could share a bit of your academic and professional career with us.
Sure. It's funny. I always kind of start back, like thinking about all the way back in high school. So I started off with being a really good art student and a really good math student. And it was really a big debate for me which direction I wanted to go with my career. My mom was an artist and also an art teacher, because she was told when she was a kid that girls could be teachers or nurses, and she liked art, so she was going to be an art teacher. But she was kind of a struggling artist of her own on the side. And I decided that I wanted to make money and not suffer the same fate as her. So I decided I would go the math route. And I ended up going to MIT. And then when I was at MIT, I partially on a dare and partially because I thought it'd be more marketable, I decided to major in computer science instead of math. And I thought I could always just drop down. MIT had like a math with a concentration in computer science option. So I was like, I'll just drop to that if computer science gets too hard for me. So it ended up not really getting too hard. So I ended up kind of graduating with a computer science degree. I was out of college. I was recruited to come down to Austin, Texas, which is where I live now, to work at a company called Trilogy Software. And that is where I went into their consulting arm. I had always known that I didn't want to be a kind of back of the house developer. I really liked working with business users and figuring out what their problem was and understanding that problem and then mapping that back to technology. So consulting was a good fit for me. And I was there until kind of the dot-com bubble burst a bit. Then I was at IBM for a few years. And I've actually been at my current company since 2005. So quite a long time in the scheme of high tech. And here I have really and truly worn just about every hat that we have. I think when I started, I was a technical lead in our web content management practice. And today I have a role that is our VP of technology strategy. So I get to work with deciding who our technology partnerships are, work at what direction the company should go in terms of new technologies, and also work at what software products that we want to bring to market as well, and kind of have ownership over those. So lots of exciting things today.
Yeah, no, and you have a vast trajectory and very interesting. You've been everywhere, and knowing that, I was wondering, what is your perception regarding the empowerment that a woman should have within the professional environment?
Yeah. So really, I feel like women should have the same access to all opportunities as men, period. Really, from everything from initial hire, through promotion opportunities, all the way to executive leadership. And it really isn't just about these kind of bigger things, but really in like the little things along the way too. I really think that we need to think more about the settings in which business occurs to make sure that it's really equally and comfortable and welcoming to a diverse audience. You know, I think we often joke about how business gets done on the golf course. In reality, I think that's true. Business does get done in social settings. And so I think we need to be cognizant of what those social settings are that we're setting up, that we are inviting to everyone. While anyone can probably play golf, there's a lot of settings that are really not appropriate, where I know in my history I've heard of business getting done, right? The strip club is not an appropriate place for us to conduct business. And so I think that as we are empowering women to be able to have access to all of those important things, we need to really think about the whole setting in which the work actually occurs, so that everybody can have that equal opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective, and I think it's different from what we've heard, and really truthful, because in social meetings, and it's when you make friends that it's more a relaxed setting when you're making business. So that's a very relevant point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, trust is formed when you break bread together, right? That is really where it happens. And so we need to be able to have that setting feel comfortable to all parties that are involved.
Yeah. And Elisa, you're in a leadership position, is that right?
It is true, yes.
Okay, so what would you say is the relevance of a woman's leadership?
Well, I think that we all know that the amount of female leaders really lags still the amount of kind of male leaders. And I think it is not only important because I do think that women bring a different and unique perspective from men, but we need more female mentors. We need more female role models for others in order to, we always talk about breaking the proverbial glass ceiling, right? In order for us to do that, we really need more women that are showing that is possible. So it's not just because a woman's voice is important and relevant, but also we just need to have that more encouragement to really change kind of that societal impression.
Yes. And I think, I believe you're doing that, seeing women like you in VP positions. I mean, that's amazing. And it takes a lot of hard work. So, I mean, that's great. And what would you say is the difference between choosing a woman for a position just because she is a woman and choosing her for her capabilities?
Well, I mean, I think that partially the answer to that is in the question. So first, I want to say, I don't think anyone should be chosen for a position solely because of their gender, be that male or female. I do not believe that is fair, and really should not be the case. That being said, I do think that organizations should proactively look to have diversity in their workforce. I mentioned that a woman's perspective is valid and important, but it is also often a different perspective than a man has. And so by having that variety of voices at the table, you will make better decisions, more informed decisions, kinder decisions. It brings a perspective that I think will actually make businesses excel more by having that rounded voice. So it shouldn't be because they are women, but when you look at your collective group, you need to make sure that you do have that diversity of perspective there, because that is actually important for your business as well.
Yeah, it makes it more rich, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
And you've worked in tech industry, as I understood.
Yeah. With and because I've been in consulting, I've worked with clients that are in a variety of industries as well, right? But I think that you would consider my specific industry high tech for sure.
Okay, so in that work environment that you work, is there male predominance?
Oh, certainly. I mean, when I talk about even going back as early as middle school, I've been familiar with being the only girl or one of a handful of girls in a room full of boys. My freshman year at MIT, it was a really big deal. Our class was 42% women, which was the highest MIT had ever had to date. But still, my CS classes, that number was much lower. And even at my current company, I've been here, I like to say, since the dawn of time. There was a long time where the entire management team was made up of men. I'm going to say, though, interestingly, today our management team is actually 2/3 women. And I think about it, I wonder a bit about why. It really wasn't a conscious choice. I really think that those of us who are women on the team really organically grew into our roles over years. So I wasn't hired in to be at this management level, but really have proved myself to the organization over the years. Where I see that biggest male dominance still is when I go to larger industry events. So like, for instance, we went to NAPE, oil and gas conference a couple of weeks ago. It felt like over 90% of the room was male. I don't know if that was the actual number, but that's just how it felt. You know, and I think that the sad part of it is I didn't even really bother me, and I didn't even really notice, because that's just been such a part of how I've always grown up. You know, it was mostly some girls working the booth, not girls working the floor as attendees, as the folks really kind of doing business. And so I think that's kind of what my primary thought of that is. It is a little bit sad that it's just always been the way of life for me. So I'm just used to it. I guess that's what I'd say. I'm just used to it.
Yeah. That happens. We see a lot of men, and we don't even question it anymore.
Yeah.
So what is needed in society and in education for an egalitarian system of participation and leadership?
Well, you know, I really believe that it starts at the youngest ages. So we need to encourage all sexes, and I'm actually not going to say both sexes, is what I really see and learn from my own kids is that lines are blurring today. Yeah. It's not just female, it's so all sexes to explore all subject areas. So it's more than just encouraging girls to also like STEM subjects. Really, even saying those words is implicitly putting a bias that boys should like them and girls need to like them too. So there aren't boy subjects, there aren't girl subjects, there's no boy colors, there's no girl colors. My son's favorite color is pink. You know, we teach our kids these biases through our language, even when we're trying to encourage them. So all subjects need to be equal opportunity. The other kind of note that I'll say on this, and I think this is kind of hard, and I don't know that I have the perfect answer for it, but I really think that we need to be cognizant in how kids are granted attention in the classroom setting. You know, we see boys and girls tend to develop at different rates. There are ages where boys just can't sit quietly in the same way a girl can. And we'll see teachers giving extra attention to the boys as a way to control their behavior by getting them more engaged, encouraging their participation. And while they're not consciously trying to limit the girls' participation, those girls are not getting the same encouragement simply by the fact that they could sit there and quietly learn. And so there needs to be some kind of universal changes in becoming self-aware of how we are interacting with others, so that we can have teachers that are reaching out and pulling and encouraging girls in the same way that they are for boys. And I get it, it is hard. Sometimes what you are trying to do is just survive the day, right? You know, but you know, my daughter comes home and she really struggles with the boys in the classroom that are being disruptive, causing the environment to not learn. And hopefully I will raise her to be strong and be a voice to get the attention and have the confidence that she needs. But I think that others kind of can sit quietly and wilt and be lost in that process. So, you know, really starting at the very youngest ages of education is, I think, where it really has to change. And that will just self-propagate goodness as it kind of flows from there.
Yeah, thank you for that, Lisa. And well, regarding stereotypes and gender roles imposed on women, do you consider that in Mexico, I don't know if you know a lot about the how Mexico is dealing with all this, but in Mexico we have made progress, or what must change?
Yeah, so I don't have any first experience with gender inequality in Mexico, but I do have someone on my team who grew up in Mexico. So she was there until she was 21. Her family is still there, and so I spent some time talking with her about this topic. And she shared some of the practices that used to exist and still do to some extent. Things like requiring pictures or marital status, or disclosure of a spouse's income in the interview process. That's the spouse's income disclosure, that one really especially hit me. So for me to think of someone getting paid differently for position, not based upon how much they even needed the money, like not based on their merits, but how much their family needed the money because of their husband's income. Like, that's just shocking to me. So what it sounds like to me is that the increasingly younger workforce is causing a shift in mindset regarding these sorts of things. But there really still could be some stronger enforcement of fair labor laws to prevent these sorts of discrimination. Even in the US, I think that there is still some bias that women are maybe more of a risk, like that they're going to get pregnant and quit and go have kids. We're in this world right now to the Great Resignation, right? Where I think that this is not just a female issue anymore. People are demanding kind of fair treatment, and if they don't have it, they are going to leave. In reality, I guess what I'll say is that for women whose company does right by them during those times where, yes, they're going to have to take some time off if they are actually giving birth to a child, but they would tend out to be even more loyal to the company. Those things are meaningful. And so I think that there's stuff that needs to still be done in Mexico, but even still here in the US where I am as well.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Lisa. And now I would like to go back to your trajectory. And I was wondering what are your most enriching experiences throughout your professional career?
Yeah, it's funny. So in all honesty, I think for me, maybe the exception of like in choosing my very first job where I was very interested in what was the work gonna be, but with the exception of that, for me, it's not really been about the work itself, but about the people I get to work with. So my most enriching moments have really been when I've helped a stakeholder to succeed within their own organization, or have helped a coworker who's been struggling with a problem, banging their heads against something for hours or days, and we sit down and figure it out together. Or honestly, like the time that I spend laughing with my team when we're like punch drunk from being up way too late, getting something complete. It's the moments of connection for me that really stand out, more than professional accolades or awards that I've won or the team has won. It's really those moments of connection in the workplace that have been the most enriching.
That's great. Moments of connection. And how has the fact that you're a woman influenced the beginning, development, and growth of your professional life?
Well, I think that I was very fortunate. My little school back in Ohio gave me actually some really great opportunities. We had a gifted and talented program that pulled me out of mainstream classes, pushed me in my development. I was fortunate enough to have parents that were willing to sacrifice to send me to a great school that opened lots of doors. All honesty, I graduated from college in '99, and I suspect that being a girl that was graduating in computer science at the height of the tech bubble was a big part of the reason why I had so many interviews. I'll say though that those circumstances might get you the interview, but it is really yourself and your accomplishments and what you can bring to the opportunity that get you the job. In my professional life itself, though, I don't think it has been quite as rosy. I definitely still encounter old boys club type mentalities. I've had prospects, even clients that really only wanted to give the time of day to a man. I still struggle with some stereotypical behavior being mansplained or even dismissed. I've literally had times of sitting down in a professional context at a business meeting and had the person that I'm talking to keep deferring and looking at my male colleague, who's actually my employee, despite me being the one with the authority and the knowledge and the one actually answering his questions. So I I really hate that feeling of needing to provide my resume for someone to be willing to give me the time of day, or that respect. It really, we all deserve that respect regardless of our gender, without having to prove ourselves as we start a conversation.
Yeah. So with all those experiences and the knowledge you have today, what advice would you give to women who are trying to build a career or grow in the professional world?
So I think my first piece of advice would be to grow thick skin. Be confident in yourself. Don't let anybody else's snide comment negatively affect your self-worth. And realize that you might have to fight to have your voice heard, but it's worth it. Being quiet is because you're being thoughtful, and is often misunderstood as being unsure or not having an opinion. And so you need to speak up and get to be a part of that conversation. Now, at the same time, I guess my second piece of advice would be, especially as your career progresses, continue to fight and advocate for a kinder workplace. To treat others as you want to be treated, and speak up for others that you see aren't creating that voice for themselves. Encourage them, bring that out, right? Be that role model for others that you wish that you had had.
Oh, thank you very much, Lisa. That's beautiful. And well, I think that's all for today. Lisa, thank you very much for your time and for your answers. I'm sure that the audience, as well as me, we enjoyed a lot hearing your wisdom. So thank you very much, and well, goodbye to all our audience, and I'll see you in the next interview. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye.